Hi, I'm Ro, and earlier this year I was identified as autistic and ADHD through the Adult Autism and ADHD practice. A lot of people have asked me why I chose this practice, what my experience with them was like, and what the benefits of a formal identification are for me. I did a lot of research when deciding who to go with, and in the end I decided on the Adult Autism and ADHD practice for a few reasons. For a start, and the most important thing for me, is that their documentation is accepted in the UK. This means I've been able to put my identification on my NHS record. All I had to do was email my GP a letter from my assessor saying that I had been formally identified as autistic and ADHD. Although I was able to seek my identification privately, it was still essential for me that the NHS accepted and were aware of my identification. Secondly, I love their approach. They're incredibly neuroaffirmative, which is super valuable, especially for somebody who's just starting out in their realisation journey. The assessor I chose was not only very kind and put me at ease, but I also learned a lot about a neuroaffirmative approach through her. Another reason I chose them is that they have a payment plan. Without this option, I would not have been able to receive an identification when I did. Initially, I went for just an autism identification, and the time that it took from completing my forms to being formally identified was 2 months. I then went back for an ADHD identification a couple of months later, and this time around it took just 5 days. Currently, I know that the waitlist is only a few days for autism and/or ADHD identifications. My assessor was lovely, and she made sure that I knew that I could email her with any questions I had, and that if I felt that we missed anything in the assessment, that I could get in touch with her about that too. She was really thorough and quick with her responses, which, as somebody who is prone to ruminating and also really appreciates a timely response, I found super helpful. The whole process is really open. There was no hiding what my assessor thought at any point, and we were working collaboratively the whole time. Post-identification, the practice provided me with a free support session from Thriving Autistic. This was really easy to organise, and there was a wide choice of therapists to choose from. I found this support session super valuable as it's the first time that I have ever spoken to a therapist who was autistic themselves. I immediately felt accepted, understood, and felt that I could talk about things with him that I had never spoken about before. The benefits of a formal identification for me have been life-changing. Self-identification is valid and necessary for a lot of people, which I totally respect, but personally for me, I needed a formal identification for my own validation and to enable me to feel comfortable reaching out for further support and to understand myself better.